T-Mill, come out and play.
Play it loud.
Hi, I'm Brianna Nichole, and I'm here with T-Mill to discuss my ancient Egyptian novel, which you can read it at my website, Brianna Nichole. That's BriannaNichole.com.
We're changing the status quo one voice at a time through music, edutainment, children, and awareness. We're progressing and preserving the culture through real conversations with people who've had real success. Multicultural artists and musicians, models, entrepreneurs, innovators, and activists. This is Paradox East, and you are in tune with T-Mill. Powered by the MaitlandConservatory.org.
Thank you for listening to In Tune with T-Mill.
Welcome everyone. This is another special edition of In Tune with T-Mill. I'm your host, T-Mill, live from the Rocket City. You will now be encouraged and entertained. Nothing will change until you change something. We are here to change the status quo, think out loud, and give you guys something to think about, give you guys something to love. And hopefully you walk away with a little bit of joy, a little bit of happiness, and feel a little bit better about yourself than before you listen to the show, all right? And then you rewind it and listen to it again, all right? We are live at the Maitland Conservatory right here located in Huntsville, Alabama. So shout out to the Maitland Conservatory and executive produced by Sunshine Enterprises. Whatever your favorite website, your app, whatever you spend the most time at, that's where you can find In Tune with T-Mill. Instagram, Facebook, Apple, iTunes, Podcast, SoundCloud, wherever you spend the most time and waste time when you're supposed to be working, go to In Tune with T-Mill, all right? Now, today, we're going to be talking with an author who's writing or who has wrote a book about the ninth Pharaoh, all right? Now, before you go Googling it, we're going to tell you all about it. And she's wrote this journey, this experience that when you want to get lost in a book, when you want to just escape, or you just want to experience something new and learn something new. Books, movies, these are all ways that we escape and get away. But she is definitely making that happen. The High Priestess and the Half-Blood Prince is Brianna Nichole's debut novel about the extraordinary grandparents of King Tut. And you are the first to read about this unpublished work. Her purpose for which she is releasing it to the public is to build a following and ultimately obtain a book publishing contract. So shout out to all y'all publishers out there listening and making sure that this is where you want to be. And you may be able to make it happen, all right? And make both of y'all rich, all right? So we are here, and I'm here in the studio live at the Maitland Conservatory with Miss Brianna Nichole. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you're representing the DMV area.
Yes. I live in Hanover, Maryland.
Hanover, Maryland, man. Shout out to all my folks in the DMV. And shout out, I was telling you the other day about all the folks that I've sent to Dukem. You know, you and I, we went to Dukem my first time visiting D.C. And everybody I've sent to D.C., or everybody I know that's went, I always send them to Dukem. And shout out to Nikija Robinson from Black Girls Vote. She texted me the other day. She said, yo, I'm here at Dukem. What do I get? And I got the text too late. And I told her, yo, you got to get the dodo wat. And she wound up getting something else. She actually did get the lamb tips. So She got the lamb tips. So shout out to Dukem, man. Y'all make sure y'all send me a plate or something. You know, something. Just a little lamb, something. So how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Excited to be here on your podcast.
All right. This has been a long time coming. And we family. We are, again, we've seen each other in different spaces and faces and places, but to see you, actually, getting this done and being committed for this long is something, because I was getting a little worried. I remember about 15 years ago you were writing a book. I was a little worried about you. I said, I don't know if she's going to finish this book. And I thought it was just one book. So I didn't know it was, this extensive that you were writing. I was thinking this is just one story. Right. So tell us about, first we're gonna go back to the beginning. What do you remember most about? You also spent some time in Africa, right?
Yes.
Tell us, what do you remember most about living there?
I think everything that had to do with the nature, and that it was the natural beauty of it and just things being so natural. And it was non-industrialized. That's the thing that made the most impact. The land, the landscape, the water, the animals, and that I really fell in love with that.
Wow. And is there a quality or a trait, or not a trait, but a tradition that you would like to see North America adopt from Africa? Something that you say, you know what, that would be really nice, if we could just take that or learn from them for that aspect.
I would like for them to include more of it in our schools, specifically in the history lessons. It's one thing why it led me to write this book in the first place. I learned so much when I was living there in Africa, and it made me wonder how come I wasn't taught any of this in school. I know a whole lot about England and the royal families in England and the kings and queens, yet I knew nothing about the kings and queens and the royalties of ancient Africa. So I thought that, it's a shame I know more about England than I do from our own, mother country.
And it's crazy because my children, their history books, they got the same history books that I had when I was going to school. Same stories, same pages. I think I even wrote in one of the books and they got the same book. But it's the same stories, and when you tell them stories about black kings, black queens, black royalty, it's almost unbelievable to them because they don't believe it. How important do you think it is for black and brown children to see their real history of royalty or where they come from, as opposed to the oppression and all that?
I'm glad you asked that. I mean, it's very important. I got tired of always, when referencing black history, that we heard about slavery and the period after slavery and Jim Crow. It's just tiring and draining.
Yeah, I'm tired of seeing slavery.
And yes, I'm like, there has got to be more. And so I had to start researching it myself. And I bought a few books. One was entitled Black Women in Antiquity. As I was referenced earlier, that I was always reading about the different queens, powerful queens of England. I'm like, were there any powerful black female queens? And when I found the book and I started reading about them, I mean, there's hundreds.
Wow.
And it just gave me a sense of pride. Just know, we have this in our heritage, in our background also, because I was, giving big ups to those females who ruled England. I mean, that was a tough place.
It was real over there.
And so I got that sense of pride, and I think when you, other little girls and young boys, when they learn about it, it gives them a sense of pride too. It's the same thing I felt when Barack Obama became president. I was in D.C. on the subway going to work, and I just felt that next day, just this sense of pride. Like, one of us can be in the position of ruling and in power. So
absolutely, because, I mean, you hear the I have a dream speech, or you hear these affirmations, you hear these be all you can be, and you can be anything you want to be. But if you don't see that, I think for some children, and children are smart. They're a lot smarter than we give them credit for. And if they don't see that, then they're thinking, no, I can't, because it doesn't exist. You're telling me I can do this, but I don't see a black president, or I don't see black queens or black
I haven't
kings.
read about one.
I haven't read about it. It's not in my history book.
Right.
So somebody's lying. It's not in this book. So that's very important. And how long did you spend over there in Africa, or when was this?
5 years. We lived there
Wow.
5 years, from age 13 to 18.
What were y'all even doing in Africa
It's
anyway?
very informative. I was going to school and playing and having a good time.
Okay.
My parents were called to be missionaries to teach at a university that they were opening in Kenya, an American university, and it's where the nationals could go to school and get an American degree under the American system. Then if they wanted to come to the U.S. for their upper graduate studies, they could just matriculate into a school in the U.S. for their master's degree or doctorate, having already did their undergrad work in the American school system. Typically in Kenya, they were under the British school system.
Wow.
So it just made it easier transition for immigrants who wanted to come to the U.S. for higher education and, go back home and do some wonderful things there with what they learned.
That is wonderful, man. And again, shout out to all the parents that, that take their children abroad or travel with them and do that. Because you don't see a lot of that nowadays, at least. I know back in the day it was, it almost seemed like just a way of life because, most parents were either in the military or in some form of travel and just taking their kids with them. So make sure you guys take your kids outside of their zip code, outside of their state. Let them get some culture in their system. All right. And again, now how important do you think it is because I think as far as ideas, as far as abilities, I think there's a difference. I could be wrong. It won't be the first time. But there's a difference in people that have traveled in the way they see things or the way they perceive things versus people that haven't traveled in the way they see things and the way they perceive things. Yes. And I think that's because they know this isn't all there is. There's a whole world, out here. There's a whole experience out here. How do you think there's a difference in that, how people perceive things if they've traveled?
There is definitely. I remember before we left, some friends of mine, I was 13, were saying, you're going to be living in a hut in a tree and swinging from trees. I mean, we did play with ropes swinging from trees, but they were, and I was nervous because I didn't know. But then when we actually got there, I would write back to my friends and let them know in the city of Nairobi, there's actually a restaurant, and the restaurant rotates. So I'm like, no, I'm not actually in a tree, living in a tree.
I'm in a rotating restaurant.
Yes. So there was everything there, though. If you go out to the bush, where people choose to live in the non-modern parts of Nairobi.
I was gonna say that sounds like something on National Geographic.
They lived in the bush. They lived in huts, and then you had people in apartment buildings and palatial mansions.
Wow, and that brings me to another
villas.
point. Think about what are some of the biggest misconceptions about Africa and then and now. Just you named a few of them, but
that everybody lives in huts,
right? And there's no clothes over there. Nobody has clothes.
Right. that there is no modernization. Africa is a big continent. I believe, 54 countries?
Sheesh.
Don't quote me. 46 or 54 countries. It is a large place. There are some very well-developed places, and there are some that are still underdeveloped. It's kind of like here in America. We have some people that live out in the country. They live on the farms.
Yeah.
They still live the farm
live
life.
off the land. And
then there's Manhattan. So it's the same. It's the same way.
Awesome. And I hear this all the time, and I want people to travel. Is it expensive to go to Africa? To your vacations or just to visit and all that? Because that's the first thing that somebody will say. Oh, it's cost too much.
Well, so you're not going to get a ticket less than $1,000.
Right. Because you're going on the other side of the world now, people. We're not talking about going to Vegas.
And there's expensive flights, even closer places. I mean, it costs a lot sometimes just to fly to Bermuda. But, if you save your money and you can get the flight there, but once you're there, actual accommodations and food and traveling around is not expensive.
Right.
But since it is such a long distance, I wouldn't recommend anybody going there for just like 4 or 5 days. You'd probably want to spend 2 to 4 weeks. Because it take a couple. How long does it take to get there? Because this about 16 hours.
Yeah. See, that's
the flight is.
Yeah. So you don't want to fly for 16 hours and stay a day and turn right back around.
And you need a couple of days to get over jet lag. But because it's so spread out, I mean, even if you just went to one country, just going to Kenya, it's a big country. There's a lot of places to see in Kenya. So you'd want to, I'd say minimum if you're going, make it 3 weeks.
Yeah.
If you couldn't, 2, and definitely find somebody who knows somebody or family that can help you get around and stay places. And
absolutely.
Take
The first
you
person tell you they
around.
want to show you something, don't go.
Yeah.
That's where you go anywhere. You see these movies and hey, let me show you something.
Yeah.
Nah. Now speaking of Egypt, and we think of these places. When you think of France, when you think of Egypt, when you think of Rome or Italy or some of these other places, you think of romance, you think of love, you think of all these different things. They say if you get into an argument, just imagine there's British people in the room. You can't argue with British people being in the room. You're not gonna cuss nobody out. You feel like you have to be royal, like you have to carry yourself a certain way. So you just won't do it. It's out of respect.
A higher standard.
Right, it's a higher standard. You can't do it. So how has Egypt has that, I guess, just that thread of romance and just royalty in it. Why do you think that is? With just how it's perceived and how it looks. It's all elegant, luxurious, and of course it's got some of its rough edges and whatever. But why do you think that is?
Well, ancient Egypt, they created that for themselves. When you read about the various queens, how they would prepare themselves in the day when they would have running waters running into the palace, when their bathhouses that they bathed in, how they had water flower gardens. Pleasurable things and comfort is not anything new. And
they seem more patient.
Just the mystique of people. Then the servants who took care of them in the palaces, even the way they comported themselves.
I don't know what that word is.
You
got to break it down. What does that mean?
How they dressed and held themselves.
Okay.
They look just as good, you could say, as the royals.
Gotcha.
Maybe not as much gold on them, but the ancient Egyptians, were serious about bathing, and they would bathe 3 and 4 times a day.
Sheesh.
And that's where incense and the oils and incense oils and things like that come from. So it's, and of course, in the story with Cleopatra and the Roman general, his name is escaping right now. 2 Roman generals kind of fell in love with the place and didn't want to leave. So
you're in the right place.
It was like they wasn't interested in going back to Rome. Caesar and the boy after him. Caesar and the guy
after whoever replaced Caesar. Okay.
Anthony.
Mark Antony.
Mark Antony.
Definitely. Now, for someone that doesn't know anything about Egyptian history, or they may just, want to wonder, they may want to get away for a little bit, what may they find interesting about this story?
I have a lot of the nature in it. So the Nile River, the foliage, because I talk about Egypt and Nubia. So as you got closer to Nubia, things were more green. They had the foliage, the trees, for instance, the ebony trees, and that was of high value to Egypt because they didn't have trees that would grow that strong, because they were mostly, desert with the sand. So their natural resources, what they'll find interesting, how much they bathe. That they actually had running water toilets. Their baths were heated. There were furnaces underneath. Ovens to make bread in. The murals. A lot of painting and decorating that they did. They like to make things beautiful. And I think that also goes to the romanticism of it. But how they would paint their murals, or you call them frescoes, on the entire walls. And it was scenes of nature, of butterflies, geese taking flight, crocodiles, fish jumping. There is a lot of nature in it. And in my research, I read that the Egyptians, they try to domesticate every animal.
Wow. And that's a lot. You mentioned, these heated furnaces or heated baths and all this stuff, all this luxurious living.
Yeah.
They didn't have a utility bill. This is all natural stuff. This is stuff that people could still do now,
Right.
and live and create this space or this world. So we were talking about the writing and how long the process took. When did you start writing this book?
So I started writing on it seriously. The concept of it, I think, was back in 2001 or 3 when I thought about I wanted to write it. Mm-hmm. And I started writing seriously in October 2013.
Wow.
I was writing a collection of short stories, and an agent that I had sent them to had told me, because you are unknown, it's better if you write a novel, full-length novel first, and then we can approach publishers and say she also has a collection of short stories to go along with it. But it's hard to sell a collection of short stories from an unknown entity. So I was like, all right, well, it's time for me to now write the novel that I've been wanting to write about Queen T and Amenhotep III. So I started October 2013 and I finished it in 2015.
Wow.
And I just finished the editing the end of 2017.
And what kept you committed through, because 2 years to some people that may, well, no, it's not a long time. It day by day it could be a long time, but when you think about it, 13 to 15, it's not that long.
Yeah,
but
2 years.
You got a lot accomplished within that time to where it may take some people 10 years to write. So what kept you committed and focused on it? Because I know there would be times you cut your phone off, you go missing, MIA, all that. So what kept you committed and interested to keep with
my urgency to be able to share it and to let people know and expose the lives of these wonderful people. Mm-hmm. The reign of Amenhotep III was a peaceful 38-year reign. They had one war.
38 years?
And after he died, his queen ruled 12 more after. He is known as the Pharaoh who was the diplomat. Mm-hmm. His father and grandfather, they conquered areas and territory through wars. Mm-hmm. But he came along and did it differently. Wow. He was the negotiator. Mm-hmm. There was people coming to him, kings from Mitanni and Babylon, for gold. They would negotiate stuff. Yeah. So he was more of a negotiator. I forgot your question.
No,
I got lost in.
You had it. What kept you committed. That's what kept you committed.
Getting out the wanting to share this for other people to learn about it. You know how we talk about now, they're talking about we need to sit down and probably have talks with North Korea or whatever.
Definitely talk North Korea.
Well, the ancient Egyptians, they might have been the first ones or some of the first civilizations where we have evidence that happened because archaeologists have dug up scrolls, they've dug up in stone, communication and letters between other rulers and Amenhotep, and actually negotiating for wives, for gold. It was usually always gold. Everybody else wanted. And he was one of the more, if not the wealthiest. He was one of the wealthiest pharaohs.
Wow.
From the gold mines that they had in Egypt and the gold mines that they got access to in Nubia. So with his vast wealth, and I guess he had a penchant, he'd rather talk than fight. He was a lover, not a fighter.
I was going to say, because you got to have some skills to reign for 38 years. You're like, I don't know about y'all, maybe y'all want y'all.
And wifey 12 years after he died.
12 years, a woman reigning, that's a long time. And here we got, 4 years here and 4 years there. And hopefully y'all's president, is not going to be reigning that long. So hopefully it'll be over in a couple months. But now speaking about, publishers, and let's talk to the writers real quick. People that are listening that may want to write or that have an interest, or they just may be stuck. And first of all, cut your phone off and just do all that and get off social media and write.
Right. I don't have an iPhone.
Look, you don't have an iPhone. You don't have video chat. You don't have a smartphone. You don't have an app on your phone.
No.
You don't have a camera on your phone. She just got a phone. Same phone number for the last 28 years. All right? And she's only 29. So put that together, all right? what for people that are writing, what without giving away all the secrets, because again, you want people to do their research. But what do you think publishers, or what would catch the attention of publishers with a story like this, with a period piece, and it's got love, it's got war, it's got everything? What does it have in it?
They're interested in sales only. So,
scratch all that. They're looking for the paper.
The publishers tend to go with trends, whatever's popular, whatever's hot. And right now there's a big uptick in historicals.
See, that's another word, y'all. She gave y'all all these words. Now y'all got to write them down. I'm going to write them down too. I don't know my vocabulary.
It's become like the it genre as far as on television. There's lots of historicals coming out on different networks.
Yeah.
And
we're not gonna name them; they ain't paying us. So.
And so, as far as books, though, one editor and an agent did tell me, for some reason, ancient Egypt is a little harder to sell in book form, but not so if it's television or movie.
Wow.
So she's one editor said, just have to really think about the marketing of it. So another agent was telling me, why don't you, when you talk about the story, let them know it's the grandparents of King Tut. Because King Tut, everybody knows about Tutankhamun. Yeah. And that automatically gets your interest. So, and that was very good advice she gave me. So now when I say the High Priestess and the Half-Blood Prince, it's the story about the grandparents of King Tut.
Absolutely. You got to put that in there so the kids will see the Half-Blood Prince and they'll start thinking Harry Potter.
Right. And then if they're still listening, it's good to mix something, I guess what I'm saying, something familiar with what you're doing. If you're not already writing about, if I was writing about King Tut, I wouldn't have to do that. But also, I go into further and let them know these are also Queen Nefertiti's in-laws. Wow. Everyone knows about Queen Nefertiti. Yeah. She married their son. So I pull them back like that. I'm like, wouldn't you want to know or hear about the two who started it all with this celebrity ancient family? Because, by the time they got down to King Tut, they had everything had run aground and they had jacked it all up and
ran the money out.
Yes, the money was
broke now.
Instead of solid gold statues and figurines they were sending to other kings, they were gold inlaid. They actually found a letter from a king complaining about it.
Like, I thought I was getting real gold.
Yes.
Y'all got me this fake gold plated cubic zirconia stuff. Hey, come on, man. Take over a whole country with that.
So you have to, it's good to find something that they already know works, is popular. For a while, there was a big run of, what is that movie where the young girl, it's a lot of teenage kids, and they have to go out in the forest and they're fighting each other to the death. And only one wins.
There was a Japanese version, and then there was the Hunger Games was the American version. Okay. I'm sorry, I love America, but we always jack up movies that we take from other ones. The Japanese version is a lot more real, a lot better.
So something like that, when I go to the writers' conferences, they mention things like that. They call it high concept novels. So people who were coming there saying, I have a high concept novel. Hunger Games is a high concept novel. Yeah. So they always love mystery, crime, and drama. They love historicals, anything Victorian era, the same stuff. But so it's going to take a little bit more work for me with the ancient Egypt. Although ancient Egypt does intrigue them all the time. My story premise intrigues them, but it always gets down to how are we going to sell it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, just like you said, when you put the visual to it and they're able to see it, the nerds will want to go and, read it and dig more for the details because the translation of it, if they can see it and they can understand it a little bit more but what you've done is actually neat on the website is to get people a glossary and then also give them some background, give them something great to look at, give them an experience. So talk about the website and that experience of what they can expect once they go to the website. Because everybody listening is going to do it. I'm just going to give you all the benefit of the doubt right now. Everybody's going to do it. So talk about that and what the experience is going to be like.
Well, part of the website, I wanted to make it so it would draw you in and start to take people back to ancient Egypt. So it had to be aesthetically
I read page 1 and I got lost. I didn't know where I was.
And that has to do with the paper we chose that the words are on. I asked the webmaster to find something that looked like papyrus or ancient. Even from the paper that we chose, the font, the temple setting. And the reason I put the glossary in the list of the gods and deities and goddesses is because I had some 2 or 3 ladies that were reading it every chapter as I finished editing. And they would ask me a lot, I can't remember, what is this god for, this god? Yeah. So I said, let me put in the beginning the glossary to tell you when you read about Amun, he is the god of gods. And Hathor, she's the goddess of babies and pregnancy and motherhood and protecting children.
That's a hard job.
And then there's a glossary of, I put in, to sort of make it also like you're reading in ancient times, is actually Egyptian Arabic. Simple words like yes, no, and mother and father. I put that in a glossary so you know when you come across this word, Iwa, that means yes. But as you read the story, you start remembering.
Yeah, absolutely.
The
so you're
words
training them in a sense.
You know, la, when you see it means no. And you get into it. I mean, you've learned a little bit of Arabic.
Hey, put that on your resume. Absolutely. Now, I think everything, just like you said before, there's this, this interest in period pieces. People are going back to, all these different places. And we're starting to see a lot more black and brown films being made, black and brown films being awarded, black and brown films being, recognized. And when that happens, of course, people see dollar signs and then you start to get 15 movies of all the same. So how important do you think it is for that first publisher or, first person to, see that hindsight, I guess, or see what's coming, to see the trend, know that it's coming, and get out before get on it before everybody else does, and to be able to say, okay, I see this happening, and I want to make this happen. I want to make this story happen. And again, I know it's a gamble, but how important do you think it is for them to do that? Because once 13 other people come behind them and do it, it's not, as important as the first one.
Well, again, with the publishers and filmmakers, they tend to lean toward what's been proven to work. And I found that a lot of movies that we've seen come out nowadays, it actually came out in 1950 something. Yeah. I'm realizing, oh my God, this is not an original. Yeah. But to show, you have to be able to show the publisher, give them examples of previous similar things that did work. They actually asked me that, can you, when you're sending out letters, query letters to get an agent to represent you, one of the agents on her website, you have to fill out and tell her, give her other titles and authors of similar books so they can see how successful it was. Unfortunately, everything comes down to money. So in doing the website, it's my way of starting to grow a readership and get interest so I can help out with the marketing. I mean, It would be great if I could say, hey, look, I already have 5,000 people are loving the story. Yeah. But I don't know how you would get them to, see forward. That's kind of like a genius person.
Yeah, that's the Jedi mind.
They're kind of like, what works, what has worked in the past. Not too many of them like stepping out of the box, doing something because of the risk and the money that they invest and put out there. So right now, there is a lot of books, romance even, all around the slavery period. And I just want people to get outside of that, go back further when we were running things, when people were coming to us asking for, can you help do this and that. I mean, they were exceptional engineers. Today, people can't figure out how did they build these pyramids? How did they get these stone obelisks up the Nile River and stand it up here?
Yeah.
I mean, all of that is a wonderment and amazement. So
I was watching something last night, and they were talking about. That's the other reason I didn't finish the chapter, because I started watching YouTube and watching some stuff about Amenhotep. Am I saying that right?
You got it.
Right. See, I got it right. All right. Amenhotep III. And I was watching. I don't know if it was him or if it was someone else, but they were talking about that the statue re-risen at some point, and they were trying to figure out how it happened and if it did indeed happen. But looking at these statues were like ridiculous. They're bigger than some of these buildings around here.
Yes.
And I'm like, somebody carved this. Somebody made this. Somebody...
That took skill. The artisan to carve it. Yeah.
That's crazy. Now, you also mentioned before, but I don't remember if it was Britain or British that have an interest in Egyptian culture. Great Britain.
Yes, the British Museum.
Yeah. So where does that come from? What do you think that that interest comes from?
I think because of the man's name, I think is Howard Carter, and his last name is Carter, the archaeologist who discovered King Tut's tomb.
Wow.
That was such a huge thing, and he took back, it was like all of these riches and wealth of things in there, and they learned so much information from finding his tomb, of their life, of how things went, and for him to take this back to England and put it in the museum, everybody was intrigued. They're just intrigued.
Wow.
What is intriguing still is the level of sophistication that they had over 3,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Their knowledge of medicines. And so there were a lot of archaeologists, a very large ancient Egyptian exhibit in the British Museum. And so England, even before America, they were fascinated with all things ancient Egypt. And I don't think in America yet it's the same way, the level of interest, which is why I wouldn't mind even if I got a publisher in the UK.
I was going to say UK, because
you can start there and generally stuff picks up.
Absolutely. It happens all the time. Idris Elba's series that he has on YouTube, not YouTube, Netflix, it's a story over there, they shoot it over there and everything, and Netflix has an abundance of these British series that are becoming like real popular in the US. But now what they're doing, same thing we always do, they're starting to make US versions of some of these British shows, and I'm like, nah, it's not the same. It's not the same. There's a lot of great ones, but again, I say that to say that you gotta peep game, that either someone from the US and North America is gonna jump on this and be the first, or someone from Great Britain, someone from the Philippines, or someone from China is gonna do this, and it's gonna come out over there, and you're gonna have all that money in that economy or this economy, whichever one. And it's all good either way because the story gets told, but just imagine if you were that one.
And all publishers, they have their UK offices or their American offices. So if it starts one place, it's going to get to the other.
Yeah, but I feel like the one that does it the first, they're going to get the real recognition and the authenticity. Because we just don't do a good job sometimes with adaptations and doing something that's already been done. Like, you guys could do some comments or let me know, like, something that when it was made the second or third time around, that it was better than the first. Usually the first is the best one. So you definitely want that. And we need to see more stories like this of royalty, of love, romance, and all that.
And it was literally a royal... Prince Amenhotep, he was half royal. His father was Pharaoh Tutmosis IV, but his mother was a secondary wife, non-royal. So he's half royal, and he marries a non-royal. He married a commoner. So it's kind of like over there, William and Kate. And now his younger brother. And what's her name?
They've had a name all in the news. I see it everywhere.
I know.
Because they just got married.
And you know, she's black too.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
So
that
that's
melanin
another
popping.
romantic story when you have the royal marry the commoner, the non-person, the non-royal. So that's why these themes in the premise, agents and editors have told me it works. But it's just getting around to how we will market so it will sell in the book form. So,
and here's where, because you've done your part, and you're doing by providing this and putting this out there. And this is where it comes to where I tell people they have no excuse. So there's people out there that say, man, I'm so sick of seeing slave movies. I'm so tired of seeing this type of movie. I want to see some royalty. I want to read about royalty. I wish there was a story that was about pharaohs, that was about real love and engineering. They can't build a bridge in my city, but they were building whole countries and all this. There's people that have been complaining and looking for a story like this. Now it's here. So you guys, this is the chance. You have no excuse but to support it. To tell your friends about it. Call your like-minded folks. Everyone likes to be that first to say, yo, I found this story. You got to check it out. Everyone wants to be that person that shares with their friends or puts their friends on to something new. And something where you can sit down with your children and say, look, let's read this together. Let's talk about this. Let's go through this together. Couple parts you're gonna have to leave out in the mid.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to break
to
it down. Couple parts you're gonna have to, all right, this is the ABC TV version, and then we're gonna go back to the HBO version. But
you mentioned children. A coworker of mine, she said she started reading it with her 9-year-old, and he loves the graphics of the book and the pages turning and
talk about that too. Some of the graphics and
yeah, well, it looks like it's on ancient papyrus, and when you turn the page, it makes this crinkly sound like it's a old paper turning. But he was discussing almost, she said, every single line. She was like, oh my goodness, did he really kill him? Did he really? And he was talking about the little girls and what they were wearing, and I can see her braids, and he can see all this. And I was shocked, and I had to tell her, this is not a children's novel. So I told her which chapters when she gets to them, because her son, what was really amazing, a 9-year-old was pronouncing these words. Amenhotep, Tutankhamun, T, Kia, Melaneshti, Izar. He was reading these. And then she said he would flip back to the glossary. Oh, wait, La. And he'd go back, oh, that means no. And so I was
get a job.
stunned by that it was, and he was enjoying it. So he's been the youngest reader. And I told her which chapters, when you get to them, you tell your son you want to read them.
Yeah, unless you want a
grandson. Skip the adult parts.
Right.
And my oldest reader just recently turned 80.
Wow.
So from 9 to 80.
Absolutely.
Men and women are enjoying the story.
Absolutely. That is good. And the website is briannanichole.com, where they can find the story.
Right.
And read
Nicole
it.
is with the H.
Nicole's with an H.
N-I-C-H.
And there's also a forum
OLE.
where people can talk about it, can break it down, or maybe ask you questions.
There's a button on the website, a forum button. There's a button on the website that says characters, where you'll get to actually see the character's portrait.
Oh, wow.
Another young artist who also works with me, her name is Risha Jacobs.
Yeah.
She was my illustrator, and so she drew all of the characters. And beside their portrait I give a little bio of who Priestess T is, who is Princess Armenia, who is Amenhotep, and then there's one other button. The home page tells you what the story's about, gives you a synopsis of the story, and then another button, a small bit about the author.
Okay.
It's a simple, clean website. I don't like a whole lot of
no distractions.
Stuff all over.
Straight to the point. Keep everybody entertained, and keep everybody informed and focused to make sure that this is why they're here. and not giving them too much else.
Right. There's
but
no
I think
advertising on there.
Absolutely. Well, make sure you guys go to the website, log on, subscribe, and read the story. Engage, talk with friends, find other people that are on the forums to talk. Because again, I imagine, well, I know this is one of those stories where you can talk with other people and talk about the story. It's not just something you walk away with and keep for yourself. This is something that you're going to talk about. If you want to gossip about something, this is probably something you want to read. You want to talk about something, or you want to laugh about something, or you just want to fall in love about something. This is probably, when I think of love stories, or when I think of romance stories, or I just think of good stories, I think this is one of them. It's something to fight for, something like real love, not just the love you see
going against the grain,
right?
Defying tradition,
right? It's something a lot deeper than just your average love story. So if you're ready to upgrade your love and ready to upgrade your romance and ready to upgrade your life, definitely read this book and engage, and put the pressure on the publishers to tell stories like this, to have these stories represented, especially if you want to just see some black and brown people in royal form. Yes. That's so important.
There was more than Tut and Cleopatra.
Right, that's all we think. And there's still not a movie about them. So come on, man. It's coming soon. And if y'all need anybody to play them, look, holler at me. But so In Tune with T-Mill, I definitely want you guys to go on and subscribe. Anything you want the people to know before we get out of here?
Whatever page you're on, just go to the bottom and you just need to put in an email address, and that's how you access the book. You'll get an email from Brianna Nichole, and in the email, you just click the button. It'll take you to the book.
Absolutely.
That's it. And it's free of charge.
Oh, free 99. So you just said the magic word, because somebody was waiting. How much is this going to cost me to get on there? It is free 99.
No, I'm
for you
sharing
to read.
it free, and I'm getting enjoyment out of when people say how much they enjoy it.
Absolutely. So get it now before the publishers come out and start charging $49.95 for the book.
I have no control.
Right. It's all to the races after that. So go ahead and get it now while it's free. While you can tell people about it, you can be the first one to listen. So thank you, Brianna Nichole, for coming to hang out with us on the show. I want you guys to engage with us. If you have any questions for Brianna Nichole that I didn't ask, I'm sure that you got some questions. All right, and just make sure you keep them respectful and you keep them about the book. All right, or else I'm gonna have to come step on your neck like my aunt used to say. All right, so make sure you guys again comment, subscribe, like the show page In Tune with T-Mill. We are powered and recorded live at the Maitland Conservatory, which is a community-based contemporary arts education entity designed to give students hands-on training and experience in areas such as music production, contemporary instrumental training, vocal coaching, and much more. Make sure you call or visit them today. Tell them that T-Mill sent you. Make sure you come up here. This episode of In Tune with T-Mill is produced by Sunshine Enterprises. For more episodes and behind the scenes, you can subscribe, share, comment wherever you listen to In Tune with T-Mill. And shout out to Art and Soul. Tonight is the MLK poetry event. They do this every single year. You guys are all invited. All it's going to cost you is a couple cans of food that you ain't going to eat. So make sure you just bring some canned foods that's up date. Don't bring no out of date canned foods. Bring some cans of food to donate to the North Alabama Food Bank. That's what they're donating to tonight. Myself and Janethia will be hosting, so you know we're gonna keep it live with DJ Mark and the whole Art and Soul family, man. Shout out to all y'all. Dwight Pope, Marcus Sims, the whole Art and Soul. It's a poetry event. Make sure you guys come out. Put your good clothes on, leave your sneakers at home, put the good shoes on, come out and have a good time, enjoy some poetry at the MLK event tonight, all right? This is In Tune with T-Mill, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. We're here with Miss Brianna Nichole, all right?
All right.
Peace.